everyone, it's Steph here from the Novelty Corner. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be sharing some picture book reviews for you. Now I have done this in the past and sometimes I do actually include them in my weekly wrap-ups, but I was talking to Bree from In Love and Words as well as a few other people who said they would be really interested in hearing some picture book recommendations from a teacher. I have planned a series of these and they will go up sporadically amongst some of my other content, and I'm also planning some middle grade ones as well. Obviously, being in Australia, I will have quite a few Australian titles, which hopefully people overseas may not have heard of or may not know all that much about. I've talked about this recently in a few videos. I think we always have an innate connection to things that represent us and where we come from. So the Australian titles are really important to me, but hopefully you'll also see that they can be applicable elsewhere in the world as well. So I'm going to theme them, and most of these will have somewhere between 3 to 5 recommendations because I want to keep them fairly short. And today's theme are some of my go-to picture books that I love to read with my students. So I'm going to start with one of my all-time favorite books. I stumbled on this book completely by chance when I was working in Borders back in the day. This is before I started teaching. And it is the perfect book for a teacher, and especially the perfect book for someone who teaches foundation or prep, or the equivalent is kinder overseas. It is called Teaching the Teacher by Janet Van Loon, and it's illustrated by Chantel Stewart. We meet Miss Cherry, who is a kindergarten teacher or a prep teacher. She is teaching her class of kids. However, this young fellow over here is sitting in her class and he starts daydreaming about what he could teach his teacher. So she's teaching him all sorts of things, reading and writing, and he's thinking, well, I can teach her how to sit on the floor because she's always sitting on the chair, but I want to sit on the chair, so I can teach her how to sit on the floor. I can teach her how to rollerblade and how to stand in line. And it's just really adorable and fun. And I think I forgot to mention at the start, it's Miss Cherry is a new teacher at the school, so that's part of the reason why he's thinking about what he could teach her. But it's really just a beautiful story about how kids have a lot to teach adults. And I quite often use this very early in the year with my students, and I actually have them write down what they could teach me, what they're really good at, and then we make it into our own class book. So our own class book of Teaching the Teacher. So this is one of my favorites. I read it pretty much every year. Another one that I read pretty much every year since it's been released is one called The Pros and Cons of Being a Frog by Sue De Janeiro. Again, this is another Australian title. It was shortlisted by the Children's Book Council of Australia for an award, and it is a beautiful story of friendship. So we have 2 characters in the story. The story is told from the perspective of this character, and we never quite learn his name, but we know that his best friend is Camille. And in this story, we find out all the things that are similar and different between the two of them. Camille loves numbers, and this character loves animals, and he never quite feels like he fits in. And so he decides that he's going to try and be brave by wearing an animal costume. And he goes through a whole stack of costumes trying to find the right one. And he settles on a frog. Along the way, he wants Camille to join in and to dress up as a frog with him. Eventually, this causes problems between the two of them because he's being pushy and not recognizing that this is maybe outside her comfort zone. But it's an amazing book because it is about true friends, how you keep them. It has this lovely subplot of facts about animals and also about how people have a really strong connection with numbers. So in this book, we find out if Camille starts talking about 23, she means yes. If she says 17, it's no. And if she starts singing her 6 times tables, it's time for lunch. So it's showing how we all have different traits and how when we become friends, we learn the quirks about everyone else. So it's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. And often when we do this, we do a really fun craft where the kids create a frog using numbers to represent themselves. So a combined literacy maths sort of task. And sometimes we do it individually or sometimes we do it collectively as a group, and it's really, really gorgeous. And then another one, and this one's a fairly recent release by Bob Graham, who is a much beloved author illustrator here in Australia. And it's Ellie's Dragon, and it is all about a little girl who has an imaginary friend who's a dragon, and she goes into the supermarket with her mother one day and walks out with this imaginary dragon friend. And it's just the story of how they grow up together and all the things that they do together. But as she grows older, obviously, she begins to outgrow the imaginary friend. And it's what happens to this now quite large dragon who had this amazing friend but has lost that connection to them. And it is just so stunning. Bob Graham's books are always beautiful. And it is the story of growing up, finding yourself, being your own person, and I utterly adore it. All right, so those are 3 of my go-to picture books that I love to share with my class. As I said, I do teach 5-year-olds and these are very accessible to them, but they're also easily adapted for older audiences as well. If you're watching this video, I would love to know in the comments, what is a picture book that just sticks out in your mind as something that you remember from your childhood or that your kids at home love, or if you're a teacher or an educator, a book that you reach for all the time. I would love to know. Otherwise, feel free to leave a dragon emoji in the comments. I hope that wherever you're in the world, you're staying safe and healthy. I hope that you enjoy these picture book recommendations, and stay tuned, there's a few more coming. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.